Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Tom Stewart here. I'm with Liz Trotter. This is Smart Business Moves. Hey, Liz, how are you?
Hey, Tom, I'm good.
Oh, this is awesome. We haven't done this like in forever, right?
Yeah, that's true. It's like it feels really hard.
Yeah,
That's how long it's been.
you know, it was different not doing it last week. I mean, you were kind of busy. I mean, you were really busy with convention and everything. So that
I
maybe,
was crazy. And
uh,
plus I had my family in from out of state. So yeah, it was very busy for me. Busy, busy, busy.
hey, Katerina,
I wish I could see who was there.
you can't. Well, I'll hook you up.
I can't see anything.
Can you put it up on your phone?
No, because I have to have my presentation up on my phone.
You need another phone or monitor or something.
Oh my gosh, I know, right? Well, I guess I don't actually need my presentation up until I'm presenting.
Yeah.
Are you calling me? Who's calling me?
No, I'm not calling
Stop
you.
calling me, Tom.
This is,
Whoever it is, I'm ignoring them. Sorry.
we haven't done this in a week and the wheels are falling off
Oh
already.
my gosh, it's so hard. So hard, Tom.
So let's talk about convention just for a few minutes. What was that experience like, Liz? I mean, you lived that last week, right? I mean, I dropped in a couple of times. I did roundtables, but you were a key part of that whole thing. What was that like last week?
It was definitely different. It was hard not being able to engage as much as you're used to. But I'll tell you, there was a lot of great information. There really was some pretty good engagement in most of the things that I did. I loved Brandon Vaughn's Conquer presentation. I thought that thing was amazing. Really loved that because I had so much company that I am able to go back and watch everything through March. I'm like, oh, thank goodness for that because I wasn't able to see everything. How did the roundtables go, Tom? I wasn't able to make it to the roundtables.
It was fun. We had a pretty good group, and we broke out into. And this is all functionality you can do within Zoom, where you can create like meeting rooms in Zoom, and the moderators each kind of stay in their own room. And we did like three different rounds, and people would pop out and pop back in from one room to another, and it was kind of cool. Plus, you had the additional functionality where somebody asked a question and wanted to deep dive in something, you could Google it real quick or pull up a deck or something. So
Yeah.
that was
Yeah, that was
actually.
actually the part that I loved. I thought that that was going to be great because so many of how many times have you been in a round table where you're like, oh, I wish I could just find this thing, show this thing,
Yeah.
and haven't been able to.
Well,
So,
we're able to do that last week.
oh, awesome. Well, I wish I had been able to make it to them because I did hear that they were good too. So, oh well.
And we didn't record those. I guess we were thinking you just never know. What what happens in a round table stays in a round table. Maybe.
Well, and it wouldn't have really roundtables kind of lose all of their magic if you're not engaging. That's kind of the point, right?
Right, right.
Yeah. All right. So I actually see you up here now. Finally got you on my phone. Took me forever. But hey, Katerina. Yeah, now I can. It's not a ton that I can see. So we actually have a fairly decent lineup this week, considering it's Thanksgiving week. Yeah.
Yeah, let's pull that up. We got Liz Trotter today. We do.
I don't have to believe you since I can't see it.
Yeah, we do, Liz, and we're going to be talking about disc and disc assessments and a little different spin on it today. This is a presentation that you've done for other industries. Is that what I understand?
Yeah. Yep. Done it. Most recently, I did it for as part of a sales training that was being done.
Okay. Well, that'd be cool. And something fun to talk about and questions on this, because there's always, you can go as deep as you want to with that. Tomorrow we have Chris Swab, and we're going to be talking about finding the right person and plugging back in.
Ah,
He was with us a couple of weeks ago, and then those were kind of two separate topics, but they came up in the discussion the last time he was here, and we felt they were both relevant. Certainly, finding the right person, and I think this was in the context of like office help, support staff, leadership, and plugging back in. He kind of pointed out the risk of where if you start pulling back from the business and start delegating and start working remotely, sometimes you can get out of your business too much, and it's hard to re-engage. And I want to hear a little bit about that.
I do too. I can completely see how that would happen, especially if things are running really smoothly. It'd be really easy to just let it go and not even be paying attention at all. So yeah, I'm super excited to hear that. He's been awesome every time he's been on the show, right?
He's a talent. He always brings it, and
Yeah.
I sit here and I take pages of notes when he's here. I love hearing. Plugging back in, is that kind of like not doing smart business moves for a week? Maybe he should have been here today.
Oh my gosh, maybe, but before today, right? It does feel like, for me, it feels like it's been a few weeks, just because I had so much weird stuff going on last week and completely different things going on. I completely fell out of my wheelhouse here now.
The Wednesday is Lauren Folks Adams, and Lauren is going to be sharing with us how to set goals that engage your office, which I guess kind of in some regards probably ties in what Chris is going to be talking about the day before.
Yeah. I asked Lauren to come on. For those of our audience that doesn't know who Lauren is, she is Ellen Folks's daughter, and they own and operate Guarantee Maids, used to be Guarantee Girls, and they also have a large commercial operation. Lauren runs their residential operation, and Ellen manages everything remotely. And so I want Lauren to talk with us about the goal setting that they do and how it engages their whole operation from top to bottom. I've always really loved the way that they do it and how they focus on goals and how they make it important to everybody. So I think a lot of people are going to love this presentation, especially going into 2021, right?
Absolutely. The timing is right on.
Yeah.
And that pretty much wraps our week up for this week, because Thursday is Thanksgiving, and we're not going to be streaming on Thanksgiving. Hey, Denise, how are you?
Hey, Denise. Hey, Tom, I met Denise in person. Do you know she's just a little bitty thing? She's just the cutest little thing. I thought she was really tall, but no, she's not.
Where did you guys run into each other?
She lives in Colorado, so she actually was so generous to pick me up, drive 45 minutes out of her way to pick me up at Laura's, and then to take me to the airport.
Wow.
So it was actually a really great trip. She brought me presents too. By the way, Denise, I love the room freshener stuff. Thanks. That stuff smells so good. Thank you again for that. Hey, Denise, I just saw her comment pop up. Actually, awesome. You know what, Tom, we probably should take just 30 seconds and say a prayer for Juno. Things are not going well. For anybody that's following Laura's page, Juno's back under the knife again today. She's having multiple parts of her body cut out. And it's just, now she's having some eyesight issues, and it's just a lot of issues going on. So it would be really nice if we could just have maybe 30 seconds.
Yeah, and that's a lot for everybody to go through. But what, she's 9 years old? Is
9
that
years old. 9 years old. Yeah.
sure?
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Anybody has a chance to ask your family, friends, anybody you know, to send a prayer out to Juno. Would be really helpful. Can't hurt. Even for anyone who's not a big fan of prayer, can't hurt, right?
Now
All
more
right.
than now more than ever. Now's the time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, so what are we going to talk about today, Liz?
All right. So today, Tom, I wanted to do this presentation about DISC. Didn't you have a cool graphic that you wanted to share real quick, though? Was there any way to be able to share that? An amazing graphic
Oh, the one that I
of
sent
you?
you earlier.
Yeah. I don't know if you can share it or not, but I do love this graphic. I know that it's being shared on Facebook and it's being shared in a couple of our private groups. And I just thought that this seems like a really good place to share it as well. Teresa, I don't know if you are on with us here today while Tom is sharing that. I got your text a couple of minutes ago saying that you weren't able to sign up for the MMA groups. As soon as I get off of Smart Business Moves today, I will reach out to you and help you get signed up. I'm sorry about that. Don't know why you were having trouble, but I'll help you figure it out. All right.
I'm efforting.
Okay. Oh my gosh, my phone is just blowing up with phone calls and text messages and Facebook messages and group messages.
Is it? Okay.
Okay.
Is this the picture?
I can't see because there's such a long lag on my phone and I can't see on my computer.
Is it the hammer picture? Or?
Yes, that's the one.
Okay.
Is it up?
We're sharing it, yeah?
So, y'all, there is some interesting things happening over the course of, through this week here. Yeah, that is a nice picture, Tom. I do like that. What are you doing with that hammer? I'm just curious. But there are some things happening over the course of the next week, and we look forward to talking to everybody about it. Okay. So should I get started, Tom? This presentation is pretty long. You know how I am. I'm long-winded. I'm going to try and shorten it up. This is a version of a presentation that I did for ISSA a few years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I can't tell if you're sharing my screen, Tom.
I am sharing your screen.
You are?
And down on the bottom right, you got like a bar across the bottom, and bottom right, if you click that little X, that bar will go away. There you go.
There you go. It is gone. All right. I am going to try and pull up my PowerPoint here.
Sarah,
All right.
Sarah says that she loves learning disc stuff from Liz. We all do.
Yeah. Sarah really is a disc lover. She really loves to put disc into place and use it. So, I really love that too, because it's not enough to just know a little bit about disc, but how are you actually going to use it and work with it? And she's really good at that. All right. So today's presentation is about how to build better relationships, stronger relationships in a lot of different areas. And we are going to be talking about 2 basic areas today, and I'm going to kind of go back and forth between them. And one is on the sales side, and the other is on the hiring side. So you can use it for both, for customers, for leads, etc., and also for interviewing, and also once you have actually hired people. So that's what we're going to talk about today. The presentation is written around the idea of different areas and different times in the different times in your company in these two different areas when you can use DISC to get better results. The first one is in that initial contact, whether it's a sales contact, which would be a lead reaching out to you maybe, or during an interview process when you're looking to hire somebody and you're interviewing them. The next one is your first experience with them, whether it be you're hiring them, you've hired them, or you're actually working with this person. But the first experience that they have, that where the relationship is beginning. The third one is when you're doing some ongoing relationship building. So the relationship is just started, brand new, and now you want to begin to build on that relationship. Again, whether it's a customer or with an employee. The next opportunity that you have to use DISC is that we're going to talk about. There's so many opportunities, but the next one we're going to talk about is when there's a problem. So a problem pops up, and either with customer or with a client, and how can you handle that problem using DISC and get better outcomes? And then the last one is your final contact. So the last time that you're going to be working with somebody. All righty. Okay, so the first one is before you meet them. That's not the first one, sorry. The first thing I want to talk about is before you meet the person, before you have any engagement with them at all, before that initial contact, some things that you want to do is get some understanding, be prepared, and get in the mindset that you're going to be using DISC. You are going to want to know the 4 basic behavioral types. Now, when we're talking about DISC, we do talk in terms of behavior and not personality. A lot of times people are thinking that this is a personality test, and it's not. It's a behavioral assessment. It's just letting us know how people are going to behave. And the 4 basic behavioral types in DISC are dominance, influence, steadiness, compliance. DISC, if you can see that there. Okay, and then the next thing before you meet them is set up systems to handle the distinct types of behavioral styles. All right, the first one we're going to talk about is the D. And when we're talking about DISC, we talk in terms of high. So you'll hear people say, I'm high D, or high I, or high DI, something along those lines. And what that means is that that's where you are during high energy, and that's what you're normally talking about when you're talking about DISC. That's what you're always going to hear. That's the basic lingo of DISC. Now, most people have 2 behavioral styles that are prominent. So, for example, Tom, I think you're a high DC. Is that correct?
I am.
Okay, and I'm a high SI. So what that means is for Tom, his 2 areas where you're going to really notice his behavior are around the D, high D, dominance, and high C of compliance. And for me, you're going to see high S of steadiness and the high I of influencing or influence. All right, so I'm going to be talking a little bit about how these slides work, because there are 4 of them, the D, I, S, and C slide. But I don't have time to go into all 4 of them in detail. So I'll have them up on the screen, and we'll mostly be talking about the area that has the star over here on the right, the tendency under stress, and then the emotion of the high, whatever one that we're talking about, whichever behavior we're talking about. But I'm going to go over this slide a little bit in a little bit more detail so that you'll understand what all of these things are on the other slide. So I'll leave it up and you can still look at them. Now, I will give you an opportunity to get this presentation if you want it. So don't worry about having to take screenshots or take furious notes. Don't worry. Tom's going to put a link up there for you so that you can get it. And you can also email me and I'll send it to you as well. So don't worry, you're going to get it. Okay, high D. So the descriptors, the things that you can think of when you're thinking of high D, different behavioral things that you're going to see in this person. They might be adventuresome, competitive, very daring. They might make really good decisions quickly, strongly. They might be very direct. They might have great ideas, innovative. They could be very persistent. They might be problem solvers, easy for them to solve problems. They might be result oriented and they might be a self-starter. Now, the reason why I say they might be is just because somebody is high D doesn't mean they're going to be all of these things all of the time. But this is going to be their natural behavioral style that you're going to be seeing the majority of the time. Now, when they're under stress, you'll be seeing a little bit of different behavior, and it might look a little bit more negative, but it's just because it's been taken to an extreme. And that's the same with every single style, and we'll be talking a little bit more about that. And the reason why we're going to talk about that is we're going to use that information. We're going to figure out how we can tell what style somebody is so that we can get the best from them in our organizations. All right. So your high D, these are some of the big values to your team of why you might want somebody that is high D in your company. Bottom line organizer, they make things, they make sure that things are organized at the bottom line, and that's just how they are. They don't have to try, they just do it. They're very forward looking. They're able to see what's going to happen and be able to drive toward that. One of the words I like to think of with the high D and driver. This is a person that drives forward all the time. Again, D, driver, dominance. But they're forward looking. They also are challenge oriented. And what that means is they like a challenge, that when they see a challenge, it doesn't shut them down. They don't feel stuck. They don't feel knocked down. They feel energized. It's like, wow, okay, problem? Yes, bring it on. The high Ds also, they initiate activity. What that means is that when everybody else is saying, okay, so yeah, this is cool, this is a great idea, yeah, I wonder what we should do, the high D is like, let's just go, let's just do the thing. So another good D word for your high Ds is doers. They like to do stuff and get it done. And then they're innovative. A lot of times you'll find that your high Ds have new ideas, fresh stuff that's different than what you might be hearing all the rest of the time. So can you guys see why your high D might be a great person to have on your team? Now, something that came up on the last time that I did this presentation was there were quite a few people that thought if they weren't a high D themselves, that maybe they wouldn't be able to be a good leader. That you had to be a high D to be a good leader. And that is not true. There are a lot of very, very good leaders out there, and I don't have the names off the top of my head. I should. There are so many of them that are not high D, that have all of the behavioral styles they can have and still be excellent leaders. And I will have this information. Anybody that requests this presentation, I will send that information along with it because I do have a lot of that information. So no, you don't have to be a high D. Now, do you want some high D behavior in your company? Absolutely. So if you're not high D, you might want to hire somebody or some people that are high D so that you can have some people that are driving your company, that are doers, that are going to be able to get things done. Okay, ideal environment for your high D person is freedom from control, supervision, and details. What that means is they need to have a higher level of autonomy than a lot of the other behavioral styles. They need to be able to do things at their own pace, in their own way, and you can't have too many restrictions on what they do, or they will feel stifled and they won't flourish. Innovative and futuristic oriented environment. That makes sense, right? They're innovative. They got to have some stuff that they can look forward to. So if your company is the type of company that likes to do the same thing that it's always done and doesn't like new ideas, you might really struggle if you have a high D. A high D can sometimes be a problem in on your cleaning teams, because sometimes they want to do it their way. They might find a better way, and here's the deal: they might actually find a better way, and they'll want to do it that way because it'll make more sense. Unfortunately, if your company wants them to do it your way, you can see that that'd be a little bit of a power struggle, right? Nobody wants to get into a power struggle with a high D, because they won't back down no matter what. So they're going to win or they're going to beat you down. So you have to understand that if you have a high D, they're going to bring a lot to the table, but make sure that you know what it is so that you can appreciate it. They need to have a forum to express ideas and viewpoints. They're going to have a lot of them. So be ready, cultivate them, look for them, try and get them from them, because they will have them. Open up dialogue for them to be able to tell you some of their ideas, and you'll find that it's going to be a huge value to you and your company. Non-routine work, they don't like to do the same thing day in, day out. It bores the crud out of them, and they won't flourish. And then they like to work with challenge and opportunity. So if things are hard and you have a problem going on, they'll like that while the problem is going on. They'll like to be able to solve it, even if they might not seem happy about it, right? Because it's not easy, it's hard. So they might not seem all joyous and happy about it, but they will enjoy the game almost of solving the problem and handling that challenge. All right, so those are some of the big things to know about this behavioral style. Oh, okay, possible limitations. I forgot about that one. So limitations, they overuse of position. So sometimes you can get a high D in there. And this happened with one of the business owners that I was working with. And she also had a high D style, but she was not in her operations on a regular basis. And she hired a high D because she wanted someone to also drive her company, but she overstepped. She did a little bit more than she was actually hired to do, and it was not a great situation because she wanted to do what she wanted to do. Next one is set standards too high. A lot of times high Ds, because they can do amazing things naturally, they don't understand what is wrong with all these other sloths. Right? Why can't they do the things that I can do? And they're also attracted to other high D behavioral styles many, many times. They love that style. So they see a lot of people that are also like them. So when they see someone who is not their behavioral style, a lot of times they can feel like those people are just not performing to the standard that they want. Lack tact and diplomacy. I mean, which of the styles can't have this problem? But the D's a little bit more than others. And then take on too much, too soon, too fast, because they're always driving. They always want to go forward. They always want to do, right? So sometimes they can take on too much. All right, now the two areas that I really want to talk about are the emotion of the high D, and the emotion is anger. Now, this does not mean that the high D is an angry person. It doesn't mean that they're angry. It just means that when they are under pressure, that the emotion that begins to pop up for them is a feeling, an emotion of anger. It doesn't mean that they are necessarily going to act on this behavior, on this anger either, but it will be the underlying emotion that they're behaving out of, which is why sometimes they can look, and we'll go to tendency under stress here, demanding or nervy, aggressive, or egotistical. So these are the things that you might see. Let me see if I can get my little cursor to work here. These are the behaviors that you might see that make you think, oh my gosh, with this person, because everybody has some stuff under pressure that is not amazing. Every single style. They have great stuff, but they also have some icky stuff. And usually under stress is where you're going to find the things that are most irritating. And it's just all of their good stuff taken to extremes. So you can see how being direct can sound demanding or nervy, right? How can they say some of these things? Are you kidding me? Or aggressive, and then egotistical. Sometimes they can, because they have a lot of great ideas and they are good at getting things done. So sometimes if they're under pressure, they can sound like, look how great I am, look how sucky you are. Of course, that's not what they mean at all. That's just the behavioral tendency that you're going to see under stress. All right, we're going to go through the rest of these a little bit more quickly, but you guys will be able to read them, like I said. Okay, the next one is the influence. And the emotion of the high I when they're under stress is optimism. And the tendency under stress is that they could be self-promoting, talk about how great they are. They're so awesome. Look at their awesome ideas. It's great. They could also be overly optimistic. It could be like, oh my gosh, I think this will work. Everything will work. If you're a high I under stress, they could be too gabby, talk. And especially to some of the behavioral styles, it can look like, are they even saying anything? Their mouth is opening, but please, could you just say something? Again, tendency under stress. And then they can seem unrealistic. Now, again, are they self-promoting, overly optimistic, gabby, unrealistic? No, not really. This is just what it looks like when they are under stress. And it can look like they're really optimistic. I like to tell a story about my husband and I coming home from Seattle, the airport, on a trip. We had been gone like 8 days, and it was midnight. It had been a long day. We'd gotten up early that morning, and on the way home, it was, I don't know, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and it was pouring rain, as is wont to do in Seattle, and dark, of course, and we got a flat tire. And the first thing that popped out of my mouth was, oh my gosh, we're so lucky. Well, I just got to tell you that a high I might feel lucky, but every other behavioral style feels like they want to smack you down. So if you're wise, that high I, you'll keep some of that to yourself, just like if you're a high D, you'll keep some of that anger to yourself, and we'll talk about the other styles as well. You have to rein that in, because it's not it's not nice for other people to see sometimes. All right, let's move on. Your high S's. So the high S, the emotion of the high S is non-emotional. Now that doesn't really sound like that bad of a thing, does it? It's like, so they're not emotional, but what that looks like is kind of flat, like they have a flat affect. And so what that can appear to be from other people is non-demonstrative, or unconcerned, or hesitant, or inflexible, stubborn, right? It can look like that. Is that what it is? No. Are they non-demonstrative? No. Are they unconcerned? No. Are they hesitant? Maybe a little bit, right? And are they inflexible? No, but it's how it appears when they're under stress. It's like they get stuck and they can't get out. So a nice good word for steadiness when you're looking at that under pressure thing is stuck, if they're feeling stuck. Okay, let's see, what time do we got here? All right, we're doing okay. And the next is high C, and this is your high C is compliance, and the emotion of the high C is fear. Now, this doesn't mean that they're afraid. People like, oh my gosh, I'm so afraid. That's not what it means. But what it means is that they're afraid that people are going to misunderstand them, or possibly not take them seriously, or that they're going to think that they're saying something that they're not saying. So they have the fear of some type of misunderstanding a lot of times around what they're doing, thinking, what their behavior is, etc. So the tendency under stress for your high Cs is they can be pessimistic. And they're the ones that are saying, yeah, but this thing is never going to work because blah, blah, blah. And they can be really picky. No matter what happens, they could just pick. And they could be fussy and just feel like they don't like it, however it is, and they can be overly critical. Now, the funny thing is that they can be overly critical about other people being pessimistic, picky, or fussy, which is really funny, right? Because they will be these things, but it really bothers them when other people are doing it because compliance, right? They want people to be acting the way that they should be acting, what makes the most sense for them. Now you have a little bit of understanding around the different behavioral styles. I hope that you were able to look at some of these amazing descriptors on every style while I was talking, and the great value to the team that they bring. And whether that's your team of people that work for you or the team of customers that you have, these are all great things. And I'm just going to use this one as an example. A lot of times the high C notices in the customer when they're being pessimistic or picky or fussy, overly critical. But don't forget that what they do is they maintain high standards. They help you keep your company amazing and strong. They're conscientious and steady. They're going to be there for you, right? If you do a great job for them, they're going to be there for you. So this is just an example of how all of the styles, they have this thing under stress that is not great, but on the flip side, they have this other thing that is really amazing. All right, so here is a quick reference guide to how you can interpret the different DISC emotions and behaviors, and also your responses. So how you can respond to the different behavioral styles to get the best from these people. Now, I'm going to tell you this, and look, I'm going to tell you about it. This sounds so easy. It's not easy, y'all. It is not easy to do these things, to respond in these ways, especially if the other person's style is different than your own, because it's not naturally going to come to you to act in these ways. You're going to have to pull yourself out of who you are and respond in a way that will get the best from them. All right, so while I'm going to tell you this and make it sound so easy, understand, I'm not thinking it is easy. It's just simple. All right, so high D, remember that emotion is anger. That behavior could be aggression, could look loud, could get in your face, could just be angry facial expressions. The interpretation could be that they're egotistical. They think you're better. They're better than you. They think you don't have a clue. The effective response, listen, pay attention, listen well, and I like to say listen longer too. High Ds need you to listen longer than any other style, and make sure that they know that you're listening, and then allow them to lead the conversation wherever it will go. So if we're talking about a customer and they, we'll talk about the different stages and how this plays out in a minute. So your high I, overly optimistic. They're going to sound all happy and like everything's all great, right? And their behavior is peppy and agreeable. The interpretation could be that they are totally clueless or not serious. And an effective response there is point out the pitfalls. So this is a really interesting thing about high I's. Of all of the styles, high I loves to be told what's wrong. They like negative feedback. They enjoy it. They see it as something that is helping them to get out of that normal, peppy, agreeable thing that they have going on that they don't necessarily love. Because none of us really like our behavior under stress, whatever it is. So if you point out the pitfalls in what they're seeing, they will appreciate it and they'll like it. Isn't that weird? It always has seemed odd to me, but I know it to be true. I've seen it and I've lived it. And the high S, unemotional, the behavior is they're going to shut down. The interpretation a lot of times is that they're uninterested or they don't care. An effective response is follow clear systems and processes. Don't worry, I'll have this quick reference up later. We'll be looking at it again. And then your high C is the emotion is fear. Behavior is that they're going to be critical about things. And the interpretation by you might be that they're just too picky. And the effective response is agree with them. Find what they're saying that is right, and then give them some facts. Your high C's love facts.
Hey, Liz, Leslie is saying that she doesn't feel like she's any of these.
Okay, so a lot of times what I find with people who think that they aren't any of them is that, remember how I said that most of the behavioral styles are two, like high DC, high DI, high something. A lot of times if somebody feels like none of them are necessarily them, that they are 3 behavioral styles above the line. So they might be like an SID. And because they have so many of them, that all of the different behaviors are modified to some degree. So that's what I normally see. I have a little something. I think I have a little something. I have a little quiz that I'll send out in a little bit. Leslie, you'll see it in just a minute. And it will, it might help you to get a little bit more clarity around what your behavioral style is. Okay, so strategy for determining type. So hopefully you can recognize that if you know what type somebody is, you will be able to give them the response that is going to best work for them. Because if you don't know, for example, let me go back here. Let's say that you don't know that somebody is high S, that they are emotional, shut down, uninterested, right? And my example would be that let's say you left this client's door unlocked and maybe even open, right? And actually, I'm going to use my high I as an example here. You left the door unopened and unlocked, and they call you up and they say, hey, everything was great. I'm so glad that the girls came to clean today. I just wanted to let you know that yeah, when they were leaving, if you could just ask them to lock up the door when they leave. No big deal, but a raccoon came in and kind of destroyed my kitchen a little bit, but just let them know if they could just lock that up, that would be great. I'd really love that. All right, now, one of the problems is that you could treat that like it's not a big deal, when in reality, it's a really big deal. The reason why they're acting this way is they're under pressure and they're under stress. And so they need you to treat it like it's more of a serious problem, because it is, y'all, right? We know that. But we can misread what somebody, the signals that they're giving us, and we can treat the problem the wrong way and not treat it as seriously as we should. So if that same thing happened to a high D, you know the high D is not going to call you up and say, hey, so funny, raccoon came in and destroyed my kitchen. That's not what's happening, right? They're going to call you up and they're going to yell at you. And your high C is going to call you up and tell you how your people are stupid. This is, you have bad systems. They're going to be very critical. And your high S is going to be like, so if you could just remind them to shut the door, because I had a raccoon came in and destroyed my kitchen and I wasn't happy. So you can see how with your I and your S, you might not give as good of a response as you would with your D and your C. You're going to know that that's serious. You're going to take that problem seriously, and you're going to do more for those people. And so you actually can end up keeping your high Ds and your high Cs a lot longer and having even more of those behavioral styles because you work really hard to keep them. Where your Is and your S's, you don't understand that they're actually upset. And so you don't work as hard to keep them. And pretty soon all your customers are crazy people. What the heck? They're angry. All right. So strategy for determining type is asking a comfortable but reasonable question. And here's an example. May I have your email address? When you ask it too soon to somebody that's on the phone, or you ask for a credit card number too soon, I wouldn't use a credit card number because we still want people to do business with us. When you ask for your email address too soon, to make people feel uncomfortable. And I'm sure you know that there are some things that you could ask people if you are interviewing them as well. And then make a note of their behavior and your interpretation to craft the correct response. And then be watchful for additional styles upon escalation. Whoa, that was very strange. Liz thing. And escalation indicating multiple styles. So if they start to get more upset, when you give them the response that you think should work and they're getting more upset, usually that means that they have multiple styles that you're going to have to deal with. And the reason why both styles are coming out is because this is a really, really big deal and they're having a hard time getting over it. All right, so here are some examples that we're going to use for the 4 styles, because my time is really tight now. So initial contact, a sales or interview, it's the first opportunity to build trust and meet them by where they are. So remember, look for a way to put them under pressure so that you know something about them. And then you can give them the response that they like, need, and they'll begin to, oh, trust you. Okay, she gets it. She gets me. And then determine fit. Make sure that the fit for your company is there by setting expectations. Set expectations are just so important. And I think I do have a little quote here from somebody. We'll see it later, I guess. I don't know. Can't find it on my little screen. And then relationship building. Get to know them by paying close attention to what they're saying, but also how they're behaving, how they're acting. Put them under slight pressure. Next slide. And then the last thing is you're going to put them at ease by following their lead and make them believe that you get them. All right. You put them under pressure. Here's what you can expect to see from the different behavioral styles. And I'll use the example of asking for an email address too early in the conversation. The high D may change the subject. They might ask you a question, or they might attempt to direct the conversation in some other way. So you might ask them for their email, and they might say, well, I'm just calling to get a price. Or they could say, well, what do you need that for? Or you're going to give it to somebody else. And they will have an underlying desire not to give it to you because they want to do it their way and in the way that makes sense to them. Your high I, they'll give you the answer with understanding, enthusiasm, or even offer another email address. So they might say, oh, sure. Let me give you that. It's blah, blah, blah. Oh, let me give you my husband's too. Just nah. Your high S's, they'll just give you the answer. They'll just American made at Comcast.net. No other communication at all. They understand it's business as usual, and they just want to get on to the next part of the process, whatever that is. And your high C, they won't want to give it to you. They'll most likely say they don't want to. Then they'll be, what is with all of my run-on words? I really like it. Skeptical about. It's a nice fancy word there. They might be skeptical about why you want it. So your high C's are not as trusting when under pressure because they're afraid that you're going to use it against them or that you might give it out. They just don't know. And because they're not sure, they don't feel comfortable. All right. So once you put them under pressure, you see their behavior, then put them at ease. Putting them at ease is how you build the trust, right? So let them avoid the question or change the subject. Follow their lead. Don't hammer on them. Don't make them give it to you. Don't ask them again. Just go wherever they take the conversation and be happy for it. For a high, if you effusive in your acceptance. Be chatty too. Say, oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that, Liz. That's so awesome. Oh, do you think your husband would like to get an email too? Great. We can send that to him too. Your high S's, just continue on to your next question. Just keep going. That's what they want. They just slow and steady wins the race with your high S's. And then show understanding that gets across that they are smart or right for your high C's. That, yep, I understand. That makes good sense. I can understand why you would ask that question, why you would be curious about that, why you would be concerned. Hopefully you will be able to see why they're asking that, because if you can, it's going to make your life easier and theirs as well. All right, under the first experience, oh, here's my little quote from Terry. All 4 styles expect certain things on their first experience. So this is the first time that you're meeting up for whatever. They expect excellent setup process for scheduling, setup process for billing and payment, excellent cleaning, and excellent follow-up processes. This is just what everybody in our industry is expecting. So don't use any of these. The first thing is don't use any of these as like your differentiator, because these are things that everybody expects from all cleaning companies. And then a long time ago, Terry Neely, our local labor and industries department, said this to me, and I've quoted it so many times since then, I can't even tell you. She told me that unmet expectations are the #1 source of all labor complaints. So that was huge for me. If you don't want to be having people upset, people that work for you, then make sure that expectations are clear, because gosh, #1 source of all complaints, y'all. Isn't that crazy? All right, 3, relationship building. Stay connected, right? So how can you stay connected? Well, you can do it through ratings, through courtesy calls, through audits. So staying connected is a big way that people expect you to build relationships. Stay concerned. They need to feel like you care about them and their job, if they're an employee, or their job, their house, if they're a customer. You can do it by ratings, texts, and follow-ups, follow-up calls, however you do it. Show them your value. Relationship building is about each side of the equation being able to see what the other brings to the table. How do they bring value? What are your specials? What are your unique offerings? Showcase your talent. And then show your appreciation. Thank you notes, gifts, specials, clients, or employees, same thing. Hopefully you guys can see that will work for building relationships. 4th thing, if a problem arises, this is what you need to know, that this is your best opportunity, maybe not best, but it is one of your biggest opportunities to make a very large impression on your customer, because your customers are not used to having their problems addressed well for them. So and all of them deal with this. Your high D's are used to people getting angry when they get angry. Your high I's are used to people not taking them seriously and not fixing the things long term. Your high S's are used to people just kind of blowing them off and thinking it's business as usual, because that's how they act. And your high C's are used to people getting really defensive when they're just trying to give you input. They're just trying to be helpful. So all 4 types can have a strengthened relationship as the outcome of a problem. If you respond to the problem well, according to the behavioral style, your relationship can be strengthened 10x, I would say. So take the time to respond correctly. Don't get pulled into a situation without preparing. If you know that somebody is really upset, and we are running out of time quickly here. If you know that somebody is upset and there's a problem, pull out your little form and use that. Take extra care and not to respond according to what you would want. Huge downfall, y'all. This is the #1 thing that can cause you trouble. Don't do what you would want. Treat them according to their behavioral style, not yours. Follow up appropriately. Here's handling problems. I'm going to read this real quick. D. So you're going to have to let them complain. They're going to do it. Sometimes they're going to be really loud about it. Don't interrupt them. Don't make excuses. Ask what they want. Do whatever they want as much as you can, and they may expect a lot. But if you can give that to your high Ds, they will be very, very valuable customers to you. Your high Is, take the issue only as seriously as the customer. Don't make things bigger than they need to be, but fix issues relationally versus monetarily. Don't offer high Is money. They will be offended. And your S's, don't drop the problem before it's 100% fixed. Take the problem more seriously than they appear to. And with your high C's, be prepared for a lot of criticism. Understand that they are thinking it's accurate and they're trying to be helpful to you. So if you can listen with that mindset, you'll get more out of it. Last contact, I'm just going to have you guys read this. Just don't forget that when it's the last time you're going to work with somebody, that's your best opportunity to make a big difference. Get your PowerPoint now. Hit me up at liz@cleanbusinessbuilders.com. Tom is also going to post this in the references. And Leslie, this is for you. Go to this link, the HTTPS Tony Robbins link, and you get a free disc. Now, it is not the most accurate disc I've ever seen, but it's fairly accurate, fairly good disc. I give you some understanding that I think is very, very helpful. All right, Tom, you like the way I just zipped through that ending there?
You did. You got it right down to the wire. I'm taking the link to the Tony Robbins assessment. I'm dropping it into the chat.
Oh, that's great.
And you still have a minute.
I got 1 minute. Okay, well, for 1 minute, I guess my biggest thing that I would say is if you can take, let me go here, this quick reference guide, print it out, give it to all of your people, have to deal with other people, especially if they're going to be in a situation where the other person is going to be under stress, and learn their effective response. But also, if you can put people under just a little bit of pressure and find out their behavioral style, moving forward, you will always be able to respond well. Sure, you'll be able to. Will you do it? I'm not sure. It's not as easy as it sounds, like I said. But if you can, you'll have much better outcomes. I can promise you that.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Liz. I mean, this is good stuff. Useful information. We'll take this deck and we'll put it in with the resources.
Nope.
And tomorrow, Chris Schwab, we're going to be picking up our discussion from a couple of weeks ago. So you guys take care, and we'll see you tomorrow at 5 o'clock Eastern. Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.